Hello, students. How are you all? I hope you are all fine, healthy, and quite in beautiful mood to learn a next chapter from the book Flamingo 12th class. The name of next chapter is Indigo, lesson number 5, that is been derived from Flamingo by Louis Fisher. Introduction. Indigo. In this story, Louis Fisher describes Gandhiji's struggle for the poor peasants of Champaran who were the sharecroppers with the British planters. They led a miserable life and were forced to grow indigo according to an agreement. They suffered a great injustice due to the landlord system in Bihar. I would like to put here summary in English first, after that in Hindi. Before summarize the thing, I would like to request you to please subscribe my channel, like and share to your all friends. So come on, over to the summary. The first meeting of Gandhi and Fisher. When Louis Fisher first met Gandhi in 1942 at his ashram in Sevagram, he told him how and why he decided to disobey the British in 1917. Gandhiji had gone to the December 1916 annual convention of the Indian National Congress Party in Lucknow, where he made a poor peasant named Rajkumar Shukla who pleaded Gandhiji to visit Champaran. Under an old agreement, the peasants of the Champaran district were sharecroppers. Rajkumar Shukla was one of them who was determined enough to accompany Gandhi everywhere till he fixed a date to visit the district. Impressed by the resolution of peasant, Gandhi agreed to meet him in Calcutta, present day of Kolkata, and go with him to Champaran from there. Meeting with Dr. Rajendra Prasad after a few months when Gandhi went to Kolkata, Shukla met him there and took him to Patna with him. There Shukla took him to meet with a lawyer named Rajendra Prasad, who later became the president of Congress Party of India. Rajendra Prasad was not there to welcome him, but servants recognized Shukla as a sharecropper who needed help, led him inside the house with Gandhi, who was also considered other present. However, Gandhi was not allowed to draw water from the well as they thought that he might turn out to be an untouchable. Gandhi Yes, Gandhi decided to go to Muzaffarpur to gather more information about the condition of the peasants in Champaran. He sent a telegram to Professor J.B. Kripalani of the Arts College in Muzaffarpur. When Gandhi reached the station, Kripalani was waiting with a large number of students. Gandhi stayed with Professor Malkani for 2 days and appreciated him for being courageous enough to harbor a person like him who was fighting for the country's freedom in spite of being government official. The news of Gandhi's advent and his mission spread rapidly through Muzaffarpur and Champaran. Gandhi came to know that the lawyers were charging a fee from the peasants. Gandhi advised them against talking their cases to the law court as he felt that all that was needed was to make them feel liberated from fear. The situation of Champaran, most of the urban lanes, the Champaran districts were divided into states owned by Englishmen who employed Indian tenants to work for them. The peasants were forced to be a part of long-term contract to plant 15% of their land of indigo. When the landlords got to know that Germany had developed synthetic indigo, they compelled the sharecroppers to pay them compensation, for being released from 15% agreement. When the sharecroppers protested against the injustice and hired lawyers to fight for them. The landlords hired thugs. Meanwhile, the news of synthetic indigo reached the illiterate peasants who had already signed and wanted their money back. Gandhi had arrived to Champaran at his point of the time and he decided to get his facts right before proceedings to the anything levitate the security of the British Landlord Association who refused to give information to an outsider. To which Gandhi replied that he was no outsider. Next, he called the British official commissioner of the Tirut division, who advised Gandhi to leave Tirut immediately. Gandhi proceeded to Motihari then, with several lawyers, where he was greeted by a vast crowd and found out that a peasant had been maltreated. He started out on the back of an elephant. On his way, he was stopped by a police superintendent's messenger who wanted him to leave the town. The messengers served Gandhi an official notice to quit Champaran immediately. Gandhi signed a receipt for the notice and wrote it on it that he would disobey the order. He was summoned to court the next day. That night, Gandhi telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come from Bihar with influential friends. Some influential friends sent instructions to the ashram and forwarded a full report to the viceroy. In the morning, Motihari was swarming with peasants. They had only heard that some Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble with the British authorities. The spontaneous courage to support Gandhi and to stand up against the British marked the beginning of their freedom from their fear of the British. The judge released him without bail. The officials were unable to handle the crowd without Gandhi's cooperation. Perplexed by this incident that served as a proof that British would be challenged by the Indians, that prosecutor requested to judge to postpone the trial. But Gandhi protested against the delay and read a statement pleading guilty. He was in a conflicting state of being. On one hand, he did not want to set a bad example as a lawbreaker, and on the other hand, he had to follow his conscience to stand up for his people. The magistrate asked Gandhi to furnish bail after 120 minutes during the recess, but Gandhi refused. Finally, the judge released him without bail. Civil disobedience had triumphed in modern India. Totally triumphant was there. Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kishore Babu, Maulana Mozarul Haq, and other prominent lawyers had arrived from Bihar. Gandhi demanded that the lawyers should fight against the injustice if he went to jail. They thought that if a stranger like Gandhi was prepared to go to jail for the peasants, then it would be a shame if they did not contribute their bit. Finally, they assured Gandhi that they were ready to follow him to jail. The unity of courage, the people to stand up against the British made Gandhi exclaim, "The battle of Champaran is won." Several days later, Gandhi learned from the magistrate that the case against him was ordered to be dropped. For this first time, civil disobedience had triumphed in modern India. That was a great victory. Gandhi delved deep into the inquiry. Gandhi delved deep into the inquiry and collected relevant documents from the peasants, which led the landlords to protest violently. In June, Gandhi had 4 interviews with the lieutenant government. What I mean to say, lieutenant governor. The appointed commission consisted of landlord, government official and Gandhi as the only representative of the sharecroppers. Finally, the committee agreed to reimburse the peasants as a mountain of evidence was gathered against the big planters. Everyone thought that Gandhi would ask for the full refund, but to everyone's surprise, he only asked for 50% of the money that the landlords had legally taken from the peasants. However, he finally settled for only 25%. Gandhi felt that the money has less important than the fact that the landlords had to submit to the peasants. They had to surrender their self-esteem also. The peasants realized their rights and became more courageous to stand up against injustice. Within few years, the British planters left their states, as a result of which indigo sharecropping disappeared. Gandhi saw the cultural and social backwardness in Champaran and felt like doing something for its upliftment. He requested 12 teachers to teach the people at Champaran. Two young disciples of Gandhi, Mahadev Desai and Narahari Parikh and their wives volunteered for the work. Gandhiji's youngest son Devdas and his wife also joined in. Kasturba Bai educated the village about ashram rules and took care on personal cleanliness and community sanitation. Gandhi got a doctor to serve the community for 6 months. Castor oil, quinine, and sulfur ointment were available. They made it available. Gandhi maintained communication with the ashram and sent regular instructions and asked for financial accounts. The Champaran movement had a deep impact on Gandhi's life as it made it evident that the British could not order Indian in their own country. It was not a political agenda to begin a movement by defying the British. The Champaran movement grew out of an attempt to release the tension of the poor peasants. Politics for Gandhi was intervened by the day to problems to ordinary mass. Yeah, his attempt was to mold a self-reliant India. When Gandhiji's lawyer friend thought that it was a good idea to have the English pacifist Charles Freer Andrews stay in Champaran and help, Gandhi refused. Totally refusal was there, and he said that having an Englishman by their side in the time when every Indian should be strong and self-reliant would just indicate the weakness of their minds. Rajendra Prasad proudly comments that Gandhi had successfully taught everyone a lesson in self-reliance. Conclusion is that we learn how Gandhi ji did not merely help in freeing India. He merely helped in freeing India, but was always working for the betterment of his countrymen from the very start. Right from the beginning, yeah, he was very much there. Thus, self-reliance, Indian independence, and help to sharecroppers were all bound together. So, students, here summary gets over now of Indigo from the Flamingo book of 12th class, lesson number 5. Now, I am going to narrate the summary in Hindi after a short while, and I request you to go through properly and listen it carefully so that you will be able to achieve good marks in your examination. You will be able to find out the answers of the questions which will be asked to you. So best of luck, students. Be happy and live happily. Get good marks and victory over the world. That is your self-confidence. Okay, best of luck. विद्यार्थियों, मैं हेमंत आपका हेमदिशा इंग्लिश क्लासेस में स्वागत करता हूं। आज मैं आपको 12वीं क्लास के फ्लेमिंगो किताब में से इंडिगो का पाठ पढ़ाने जा रहा हूं। एक समरी के रूप में पाठ नंबर 5 है। ये इंडिगो किताब में से लिया गया है, जिसके लेखक है लुइस फिशर। तो पहले मैं परिचय देना चाहूँगा, और इस परिचय से पहले एक गुजारिश करना चाहूँगा, जैसा कि मैं आशा करता आया हूँ, करता रहूँगा, करता भी हूँ, कर रहा हूँ, कि मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर कीजिएगा, लाइक कीजिएगा, शेयर कीजिएगा, अपने सहपाठियों में इसको बराबर रूप से साझा करिएगा, ताकि आपके सहपाठियों को भी इसका फ़ायदा मिलता रहे और आप लोग इसका भरपूर फ़ायदा उठाइएगा। आइए तो परिचय देखते हैं अपन इंडिगो पाठ का। इस कहानी में लुइस ने चंपारण के गरीब किसानों के लिए गांधी जी का संघर्ष का वर्णन किया है, जो ब्रिटिश बागान के बटाईदार थे। उन्होंने एक दयनीय जीवन व्यतीत किया। एक समझौतों के अनुसार इंडिगो को बढ़ने के लिए मजबूर किया गया। बिहार में जमींदारी व्यवस्था के कारण उन्हें बड़ा अन्याय सहना पड़ा। गांधी और फिशर की पहली मुलाकात सेवाग्राम में आश्रम में 1942 में गांधी जी से मिले तो उन्होंने कहा कि कैसे और क्यों 1917 में अंग्रेज़ों की अवज्ञा करने का फैसला लिया। गांधी दिसंबर 1916 में लखनऊ में भारतीय राष्ट्रीय कांग्रेस के वार्षिक सम्मेलन में गए थे, जहां वह राजकुमार शुक्ला नामक एक गरीब किसान से मिले और उसने गांधी जी को चंपारण आने का अनुरोध किया। पुराने समझौते के तहत चंपारण जिले के किसान बटाईदार थे। राजकुमार शुक्ला उन लोगों में से एक थे जिन्हें गांधी के साथ हर जगह जाने के लिए पर्याप्त दृढ़ संकल्प था, जब तक कि उन्होंने अपने ज़िले का दौरा करने की तारीख नहीं तय करवा ली। किसान के संकल्प से प्रभावित गांधी जी कोलकाता में उससे मिलने के लिए सहमत हुए। वहाँ से चंपारण चले गए। यहाँ पे राजेंद्र प्रसाद से मुलाकात के बारे में चर्चा करेंगे। कुछ महीनों के बाद जब गांधी जी कलकत्ता गए, लाल शुक्ला वहाँ उनसे मिले और उनके साथ उन्हें पटना ले गए। वहाँ शुक्ला ने राजेंद्र प्रसाद नामक एक वकील से मिलाने के लिए गए, जो बाद में कांग्रेस पार्टी और भारत के प्रथम राष्ट्रपति बने। राजेंद्र प्रसाद उनके स्वागत के लिए वहाँ नहीं थे, लेकिन नौकर ने शुक्ला को एक बटाईदारों के रूप में मान्यता दी और उन्होंने गांधी के साथ घर के अंदर जाने दिया। हालांकि उन्होंने गांधी को भी किसान समझा। उन्हें कुएं से पानी खींचने की इजाज़त नहीं दी, क्योंकि उनका कहना था कि यह अछूत हो सकता था। चंपारण में किसानों की स्थिति के बारे में अधिक जानकारी इकट्ठा करने के लिए गांधी जी ने मुजफ्फरपुर जाने का फैसला किया। उन्होंने मुजफ्फरपुर में कला कॉलेज के प्रोफेसर जेबी कृपलानी को एक टेलीग्राम भेजा। जब गांधी स्टेशन पहुंचे तो कृपलानी बड़ी संख्या में छात्रों के साथ इंतज़ार कर रहे थे। गांधी 2 दिनों तक प्रोफेसर मलकानी के साथ रहे और उनकी सराहना की, क्योंकि वे सरकारी अधिकारी के होने के बावजूद देश की आज़ादी के लिए लड़ रहे थे। गांधी के आगमन और उनके मिशन की खबर मुजफ्फरपुर और चंपारण में तेज़ी से फैल गई। गांधी जी को पता चला कि वकील किसानों से शुल्क ले रहे थे, तो गांधी ने उन्हें मामलों को अदालत में ले जाने के लिए कहा। वे चाहते थे कि बिना किसी भय के किसान अपना हक मान सके। चंपारण जिले में अधिकांश कृषि भूमि को अंग्रेजों के स्वामित्व वाली संपत्तियों में विभाजित किया गया था। उन्होंने भारतीय किराएदारों को उनके लिए काम करने के लिए नियोजित किया था। किसानों को इंडिगो, जो कि नील जिसे कहते हैं, के साथ अपनी भूमि के 15% पौधे लगाने के लिए दीर्घकालिक अनुबंध का हिस्सा बनाने के लिए मजबूर होना पड़ा। जब मकान मालिकों को यह पता चला कि जर्मनी ने सिंथेटिक इंडिगो विकसित किया है, तो उन्होंने बटाईदारों को 15% समझौते से रिहा करने के लिए मुआवजे का भुगतान करने के लिए मजबूर किया। जब बटाईदारों ने इस अन्याय के खिलाफ विरोध किया और वकीलों को उसके लिए लड़ने के लिए किराए पर लिया, तो मालिकों ने मालूम है क्या किया? वकीलों से साथ मिलकर फिर से किसानों को ठगा। यहाँ इस वक्त तक गांधी जी का चरण चंपारण पहुंच चुके थे। उन्होंने कुछ भी करने के लिए आगे बढ़ने से पहले अपने तथ्यों को सही करने का फैसला लिया और उन्होंने ब्रिटिश मकान मालिक के साथ संगठन के सचिव का दौरा किया, जिन्होंने बाहरी व्यक्ति को जानकारी देने से इनकार कर दिया था, जिसके लिए गांधी ने जवाब दिया कि वो बाहरी नहीं थे। उसके बाद उन्होंने तिरुहत डिवीज़न के ब्रिटिश आधिकारिक आयुक्त को बुलाया, जिन्होंने गांधी को तत्काल तिरुहत छोड़ने की सलाह दी। गांधी कई वकीलों के साथ मोतिहारी चले गए। उन्होंने एक विशाल भीड़ को बधाई दी और पता किया कि किसानों को माफ़ कर दिया गया था। उन्होंने भुगतान करने के लिए यात्रा करने का फैसला किया। रास्ते पर उन्हें पुलिस अधीक्षक के दूत ने रोक दिया, उन्हें शहर छोड़ने की चेतावनी दी थी और दूत ने तुरंत चंपारण छोड़ने के लिए गांधी को आधिकारिक नोटिस दिया। गांधी ने नोटिस के लिए रसीद पर हस्ताक्षर किए। इस पर लिखा कि वो आदेश का उल्लंघन करेंगे। उन्हें अगले दिन अदालत में बुलाया गया और उस रात गांधी ने प्रभावशाली मित्रों के साथ बिहार में आने के लिए राजेंद्र प्रसाद को टेलीग्राफ किया, आश्रम को निर्देश भेजे और वाइसराय के पूर्ण रिपोर्ट अग्रेषित की। किसानों को एक खबर मिली कि कोई महात्मा जो उनकी मदद करना चाहते हैं। ब्रिटिश अधिकारी उन्हें परेशान कर भागना चाहते हैं। गांधी का समर्थन करने और अंग्रेजों के खिलाफ खड़े होने के लिए सुबह सुबह मोतिहारी किसानों से भर गया। गांधी जी के समर्थन में यह साहस ब्रिटिशों के डर से उनकी आज़ादी की शुरुआत को चिन्हित करता है। आखिर में क्या हुआ? जज ने उन्हें बिना जमानत के रिहा कर दिया। पुलिस अधिकारी गांधी के सहयोग के बिना भीड़ को संभालने में असमर्थ थे। अभियोजक ने न्यायाधीश से मुकदमे को स्थगित करने का अनुरोध किया।